How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Got good energy today?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah? All right. What did you guys have for dinner?
A bagel.
A bagel. Okay.
Leftover rice.
Leftover rice. Okay, perfect. Now, what we're talking about today is this is all gonna tie in. So, with your bagel, what's in that bagel?
Bread.
Bread.
I
What's
don't
bread made of?
Flour.
Right. It's made of
Starch. No, it's a starch. I don't know.
like wheat.
Wheat.
So
yeah, that's what you're
wheat,
getting at.
So wheat in a wheat field and rice in a rice field. Where do those organisms get their energy? You guys got your energy from that dinner, but where do those organisms get their energy?
The sun.
The sun, right? So we have human beings. We need our energy. We get it from our food, right? But then whatever we're consuming, we have to also determine where the energy, what the source of energy is for those. So that is what we're going to be diving into today. Is we're going to be talking about energy flow. Okay, so if you guys remember from last week, we talked about organisms, right, in an ecosystem and how they all affect each other. So one organism is impacted by another or needs another organism within an ecosystem. So organisms can be plants and animals, just any living thing. And today we're going to talk about how they get their energy. And there is a scheme that starts with the sun. Okay? The sun is the primary source of energy, and there is a web of how that flows through all the living organisms on Earth. And I'm just going to go over these objectives, y'all. So the content objective for today is to be able to describe the flow of energy within a food web, including the roles of the sun, producers, consumers, and decomposers. A producer is an organism that makes its own food from sunlight. So you guys, like your food that you had for dinner, rice and bagel made from wheat. Those would be a producer. Right? A consumer is an organism that must feed on either producers or other consumers in order to get its energy. The decomposer is an organism that feeds on dead organisms or waste. Now, real quickly, just to get some practice for
Can I
you.
clarify your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Would we be consumers or decomposers? Because like once we get the rice and the wheat, it's already dead.
It's already dead. That's an excellent question. Now, we're consumers. That's what human beings are. We're consumers. That's a really excellent question. I've never heard that perspective before. But human beings are considered consumers, and we're talking about decomposers, the way that they break down the dead, like the decaying flesh.
Like
or
rotting.
Rotting things,
Okay.
yes.
Gotcha.
That's an excellent question. Way to be inquisitive. So if you guys want to get your desks together, have an activity to work on. And you guys are going to construct a food web. So I have pictures here, different images and then arrows, and you guys are going to work together. There's going to be different organisms in here, and you are going to use these arrows to depict the flow of energy. So from sun to a plant would be the flow of energy using the arrows. So if you guys are going to use those arrows and take a look at all of those pictures.
Oh shoot, this is getting hard.
You'll construct a web.
Okay.
You might have to get a little creative on how you're gonna.
Okay, we're gonna start with the sun.
I was thinking the same thing.
Okay, and we'll make it go down like toward you, maybe?
Okay. So it'd be upside down for you.
Yeah, and then so the sun makes the grass happen,
Okay.
and it also makes this happen.
So we got 2 arrows going from the sun.
Yeah. The worms eat the animals once they're dead, right? No.
It could be.
Okay, this guy is totally chewing on a flower. Like,
Are these mushrooms?
They are. It's
Okay.
fungus.
Okay.
what's this guy? Okay, so the
This
deer
would be
is gonna
easier
eat
if it was the food chain.
Right, it's not quite a food chain. It's an
I think I've seen where
energy
this is
flow.
Okay, you got this. Go with your flow.
So the wolf eats Bambi. And then, are mushrooms gonna eat the wolf? Or, no, the wolf,
The spider eats the mushrooms?
mushrooms definitely eat decaying plant matter.
Yeah.
That's true.
Do they eat spiders? Because I want them to be down there.
Right, so this is going to be,
It's a web though, right? Not a chain.
right, so it might have a unique
the
look,
worms.
but it's all about that there's going to be a flow.
Down here?
Wolf.
Okay. The wolf eats the worms.
No, the worms eat the wolf. No, okay, well, let's see. What else could worms eat?
Decaying matter.
Decaying plants too?
Eat the mushrooms.
Worms eat mushrooms. Teacher, can go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so
We need help.
Worms, they do a purpose of breaking down those.
Okay.
Okay.
And with this web, you can have multiple arrows pointing to the same thing,
Okay.
if that makes, if
Okay.
that helps you out. And there's no like perfect way to do this.
Would worms eat the grass?
I think
Because they live in the grass and the dirt.
Grass.
So worms would be up here
Okay.
with the arrow going towards the grass, I think.
Okay, now the energy goes from the sun to the grass.
Okay, so it
To
goes
the
that way.
Worms. Good
Okay.
call, good call, yes. Yeah, great job analyzing all of this.
We have extra arrows.
Yeah, that's fun. And like I said, there are a couple of ways that you can use like multiple arrows. Like say, use the arrow, the worms or fungus can decompose multiple organisms.
There we go.
Right.
So we used all arrows. Feel good about this.
So excellent. So what you've just constructed is an energy flow food web. It's a little bit
Nice.
complicated, but can you see how multiple organisms, so they derive energy from others in different ways? So looking at these, can you tell me which ones would be producers in this? Which organisms are producers in this food web? Those two.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and why? Why is that?
Because they're actually converting the sun's energy into things all these other people can use.
Right, right. And so the definition of a producer, once again, is an organism that can make its own food from sunlight.
Sunlight.
And all plants can do that.
Mm-hmm.
However, what about funguses?
Not plants.
Not plants, right? They have a different function. They're in a different classification,
Mm-hmm.
and they function as decomposers. They get their food from the things that they're decomposing. Right. So, which organisms on here you guys see as the consumers?
Wouldn't it be the deer and the wolf?
And I think the butterfly.
Oh, that's fly spider.
Right. And now there's consumers can be broken down into two different categories, right? And I'm going to write this down. So with consumers, what is the difference between, I don't know if one of you wants to answer, raise your hand, about the difference between, say, what the butterfly is consuming versus what the spider is consuming. Yes, ma'am.
So my first thought was omnivore, carnivore, herbivore. But in relation to this, I think there's a little more interesting aspect here that this guy is directly eating a producer. This guy is eating another consumer.
Yes.
So like,
Excellent. Yes.
that's it.
So that's exactly the relationship that, so both the deer and the wolf are consumers. However, what they're consuming, there's, as you said, the deer is a consumer consuming a producer, and then wolf consumer. And you mentioned the herbivore, carnivore. So that's exactly the categories that the consumers are broken down into. And so what's the first one you said? Herbivore. You able to tell me what the definition of that is?
Maybe eats the producer. Eats plants.
Eats plants, right. And then there's the carnivore, which is
Meat eater.
meat eater, right? And what's another example of a meat eater? We have the wolf, the spider.
Did you say cannibals?
Yeah.
Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
Like T-Rex.
Like a T-Rex, right. Awesome. And then the last one is an omnivore. Okay, and an omnivore is actually an organism that consumes both plant and other animals. So you guys think of an example of an omnivore? Might be a
Bears.
little tough. Bears.
Bears.
Right. So what are some of the things that bears eat?
They eat deer and berries and like nuts.
Right. So they have a variety of things. Now there's another one
The obvious one.
that's kind of obvious, yeah, but also might not be so obvious. It's
Oh, yeah.
human beings. Most human beings are omnivores. We'll eat both, plants, fruits, vegetables, and also meat products. Okay. So if you want to
Stacking back up.
have your, so now that we've talked about energy flow, we have seen all these examples. So next thing I want to talk about is how energy flow can be disrupted. Does everybody know the definition of disrupt? If you don't know the definition of disrupt, because might be a new word for some, but when we're talking about disruption of energy flow, it's an interruption or a change in the process. So, interruption or change in a process. And the process that we're talking about is energy flow through an ecosystem. Now, one example of this there's several examples, and actually in those, if you want to look at those pictures, so wolf is one example of a disruption that has happened with wolves in the past is wolves were overhunted. So think about if in a certain area, all of the wolves in that area were hunted to extinction. What do you guys think would be some of the changes that would happen in the energy flow?
Well, I think there would be more deer and more animals that didn't get killed by wolves.
Right.
And they'd probably be taking a real toll on the vegetation,
Okay.
eating all the plants.
Yes. So there would be greater population of deer, right? So that would be an effect, and then also less vegetation. So there would be an imbalance, right? Now another example is you all saw the butterfly in that food web, that energy web, and so the monarch butterfly, its primary food source for the caterpillars is the milkweed flower. Okay, and because of some human development, it destroys a lot of their the milkweeds in the area. So basically, there's a disruption in that food source for them. So when there's a decline in their food source, their energy source, there's a decline also in the population of butterflies. And one final example, because those examples were man-made, because of, and there are multiple other things like over-harvesting, over-hunting, and pollution can all cause imbalances in an ecosystem and how the energy flow goes through, because if there's fewer resources for animals, then it's gonna cause an imbalance. One final example of something that can be like a natural disaster, okay? Because volcanic eruptions, when this occurs, all of the ash that accumulates in the sky, it's blocking out the sunlight. So, what can you tell me about what might happen if, for long periods of time, the sunlight was blocked out over a vast area? What can happen?
The grass and flowers and trees won't grow, they won't get their energy from.
Right, so then what happens to the organisms that depend on those, the producers?
Dying off.
Right. So there's just a chain reaction that occurs. So, really quickly, I have a couple of minutes, and I'm going to give you this quiz. Oh no. But it's just a quick assessment, and also that short answer right there at the bottom. I just want you to kind of stretch your minds, challenge yourself, and think of different ways that an energy flow, just like an example, and you can think of in your community, or you can think of worldwide. Yeah, that's okay. Because this is just gonna be something that you guys can work with. But and yeah, with the example, I just want you guys to get creative here, all right? Because there's all sorts of examples all over the world, not just with deer and wolves and different things locally, but worldwide. Such a variety of ecosystems that you could give an example.
I'm not very creative.
So if something happens regularly, it can still be a disruption of the energy flow. Because I'll just write mine. We're not being
If we
very
we can discuss them too. If anyone wants to share.
Okay, I actually do because I'm not sure mine even counts.
Yeah, we can discuss it.
I wrote down what already been said.
That's all right too.
So every year, all the plants die in the winter. And then everybody else has to find something else to eat. That seems like a disruption to me.
Right, so that's like a seasonal disruption of the energy flow. And the different organisms, what do they have to do when plants all die?
A lot of the animals hibernate though.
Yeah,
The
they
birds
just give
stuff,
up.
They hibernate, yeah.
Some of them store up food to prepare.
That's true.
Right.
Like squirrels and
Yeah.
Some of them move. They go
Fly
away.
south.
Yeah.
So we discussed hibernation. Migration, yes, excellent. So there are a lot of ways that animals and the organisms have adapted to adjust to those changes. Yeah. Mhm. So that is something that's regular that nature has to adapt to. So what was theirs?
I put sunlight's blocked out and animals become extinct.
Oh, yeah. If it's for like an extended period of time.
Like if you live in Alaska, don't they have like the sun blocked out?
For
There's like not a lot of sunlight there. They have like what, 10 months of winter or something?
Oh, gosh. My mom was there. It's only a few days, like a few a month. That totally.
So, right, so the diversity of organisms that can tolerate that kind of harsh environment is pretty limited. Right. Yeah. Okay, well, if I can collect your Marcuses, look forward to reading these. And so, next class period, we're going to go more into depth about how to predict what sort of changes will happen in the ecosystem when various factors are put into play.
Mm-hmm.
When those changes happen, there are different ways that we know now how to predict how that is going to affect the ecosystem. So like say an animal goes extinct or a food source becomes scarce. So we're going to go more into depth in the next lesson. But thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.